All right. I say some check marks. All right. So yeah, I've got just so you guys know, at the moment I've got a lot of different windows open. So I'm hoping that I don't close something by accident that I should or anything like that. But be that as it may. All right. So it looks like I think everybody made it back. Let's see. 12 participants. We're missing one. Who are we missing? Oh, okay. I see who we're missing. All right. All right. Anyways, so the main point of this is to oh, and I need to remember to resume my own recording. Is to just give you guys a chance to see what it looks like in Zoom. And like I said, a lot of it is going to look pretty familiar because a lot of these programs are based a lot on each other. There are some differences. One of the things, if you're not used to doing this, and actually this goes along with sort of tips and tricks, is whenever I start up a room or enter a room, the first two things I make sure to do are to turn on the participants list and the chat window. And those will both open on the right-hand side of the screen, especially if you're the presenter. I mean, I think the participants opens up automatically if you're the presenter. I don't know if it does if you just enter as a student. The chat window does not. So one of the things I always make sure to do first is to make sure that the chat window is open before you start. So in the participants window, one of the things that some of you have already discovered, and hopefully all of you will see, is that underneath the list of participants, there are a bunch of additional options in terms of things that you can do. There's yes and no. So if you want to ask a quick question and get a yes or no answer on, then that's a quick way for all the participants to throw up a quick yes or no. In fact, really quick, just to test this, you get to pick which one, but either put yes or no. Ooh, we're such a positive bunch. Oh, most of us. All right. And Yamilka, do we have you there? You see where the yes and no are? All right. As the teacher, you also will have an additional button, which you guys don't see right now, but it says clear all. And so what you can do is, if you've asked a question like that, rather than having everybody else have to individually turn their answers on or off, you have the ability, like I just did, just to clear. So that's kind of a nice feature too. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Yumilka. All right. So that's a feature you got. So you've got yes, no. There's the go slower, go faster, which is just a way to indicate to the presenter that maybe you're going too quickly or too slowly. Oh, Erica, yes, do you have a question?
I'm not sure if I'm doing something wrong, but I think I'm hearing you from Zoom, but I could see your screen from WebEx, and I'm getting confused what window I'm in.
You're hearing me from...
I could see you pressing buttons on WebEx. I could see your Zoom screen through WebEx.
Oh, okay.
Is that what's supposed to be happening?
It probably just means that the WebEx room is still open. So
I just need to not look at that.
Yeah, if you make your Zoom client the top window.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't close out the WebEx just in case people had problems getting into Zoom.
Okay.
So that I'd still have a way to be in
touch. Then I'm
with
doing okay.
Yeah. That's what I said. Right now, and it's worse for me, I've got two computers running side by side right now. So I've got multiple windows open on multiple machines and all that. So I'm just trying not to go crazy right now. But so far I'm doing okay.
I also don't know how to unraise my hand.
what
Oh,
I,
I got it this time.
yeah, and also, and this is a good tip for you as a presenter. If you've asked for people to raise their hands or provide a yes or no answer, it's useful for you to be the one to hit the clear all, just to make sure that then everybody, that all the responses have been cleared out, and then you're getting fresh information as you move forward. So and then there's a thumbs up, there's a thumbs down, there is clapping if you want, there's even a coffee cup if you want to let the presenter know that you just need a break. You can put up the coffee cup and do that. So that shows up where it says more. That gives you a few more options in terms of things that you can use. So that's one nice thing. It gives you a little bit more flexibility compared to WebEx. I know that even the raising the hand on the WebEx has been a bit spotty in terms of whether everybody has the ability to do it or not. So this gives you just some more options as you go through. Yes, Kathleen. Or is that just a random hand going up?
This isn't Kathleen, but I have a question.
Okay.
What are we supposed to be looking at right now? Does it say join audio share, invite others?
Yes. Right now, I have not. Normally, when you guys enter the WebEx classroom, I've already shared a screen. I'm usually sharing the Moodle, so it's got the class expectations up.
And this is just the beginning.
What I'm doing right now is just like from the start. This would be the default screen. So if
Sorry,
if,
I couldn't unmute. I didn't realize I wasn't unmuted.
Oh, that's okay.
That was basically my question because, like, I see you on the WebEx,
Yep.
like showing all the things that you're talking about, but on the Zoom, it's just a
Right.
like topic, the host name, the invitation URL, and all that stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now, and in a second here, I'm going to do the sharing aspect. So
Okay.
yeah. So right now, I'm just kind of talking you through what you're looking at. So, yeah. So and this, if we were in WebEx and I wasn't sharing a screen with you, you would actually be seeing even a more blank screen than this. With WebEx, it just plops a pair of initials in the middle of the screen. And that's about it. So you won't see. All you'll be able to do is hear. Oh, somebody just. There we go. Somebody was sharing. So you will. When you're presenting, it's just something to be aware of. Is what do you want your students to see from when they enter the room, and that's why. Again, with WebEx, with our normal classes, I usually, as soon as I get set up in the room and I know I've got everything up and running, the first thing I generally do is share. In my case, I'm using Chrome. I'll share Chrome, and Chrome is where I've got the class Moodle up, and I'll go to the page so that then when people enter the room, they're already looking at something, basically a pre-organizer or something like that for the class. So that is something to think about as well. But generically speaking, right now we could all be talking to each other, but you're not going to see any interactivity from me until I actually share a screen with you. And that would be the same case for you going the other direction. All right. So let's talk about sharing. So I went through the participants window. As the presenter, that's going to be up. That's your main way to interact. You can mute and unmute people. You can unmute your own video. You can see who's raised their hands and things like that. So that's your main control panel for the people in your class. And again, always also bring up the chat window because that's going to be one way also that people are going to be interacting with you, and you want to have that ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is, so at the bottom of the screen, you should all see invite, which you won't need to do because your participants will be joining. You've got the participants, which brings up that participants window. And then there's the chat. But then there's the share. And the share is really the main core of what all of these video conferencing software does. So when you click on share, what will pop up for Zoom is it'll give you a thumbnail of any application you currently have open on the computer. It'll also give you an option for a whiteboard. And actually, in the case of Zoom, you can also AirPlay an iPhone to the computer, and you can actually share that.
Went wrong.
Oh, be quiet. Sorry, that was my Siri thinking that I had said something. So what I'm going to do is, just like we would do in WebEx, is I'm going to share my Google Chrome. So what will now pop up on your screens will be more like what we're used to seeing in the WebEx, where now what I have on my screen, whatever I've got showing in Google Chrome on my computer, is now what you guys are looking at. One thing to note, what am I looking for here? One thing to note is that when you go into screen sharing on your machine, the participants and the chat windows will disappear. At the top of your screen as the presenter, right now you'll see just something that says you're viewing David Miller's screen at the top. If you were the presenter and went up there, a whole menu would drop down that would allow you then to open up the participants window, open up the chat window, and have those things available again. So you do have to do that kind of manually once you've gone into sharing, because those windows will sort of disappear. So what I've just done, which you won't be able to see because it's not part of Chrome, but what I've just done is opened up those two windows. So I now have the chat window and the participants window available again to look at on my screen. So at this point, it's a lot like WebEx. Whatever I've shared, anything that I do on my screen, if I go to week 12 objectives, then that'll show up on all of your participants' computers. If you want to annotate, because I made that available, if you on your machines go up to that top where it says you are viewing David Miller's screen, it says view options. One of those should be annotate. And I'm doing that from my second computer, which I'm set up as a student. There we go. We've got some hearts. I just drew a big old squiggle. You can put in text. So that allows, that's one way to allow some interactivity. Yeah, I know. Probably trying to write with a mouse is always fun. So I'm going to type it. So anyway, so those annotation tools allow you then as a participant or as the presenter to add on to whatever's on the screen. One of the options for sharing as the presenter is, I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and then I'm going to reshare a whiteboard so you can see what that looks like. So when I share a whiteboard, it just gives you a big blank screen. And then again, you as the presenter can put things on the screen. If you are a participant, you can also put things on the screen. So that would be kind of like using an interactive whiteboard in your classroom. Just gives you a place to have your students do something, have you interact with each other, and so on. So that's another sharing option, is to share a whiteboard. So I'm going to go back again. I'm going to go back and I'm going to share Chrome again. Doot. All right. So now I'm back to Chrome. So then the other big feature is the whole breakout room thing. So I'm going to walk you guys into breakout rooms and kind of explain what it looks like at my end. So when I as the presenter, when you're at the top, you're going to have where on your screens it says view options. You're going to have some more things up there, and one of them will say more, and one of them says breakout rooms. And what breakout rooms will do, it knows how many people are in the room. You tell it how many rooms you want, and then it will either automatically divide the people into those rooms, or you can do it manually. So for the sake of the demonstration right now, I'm going to assign the 12 people who are currently in the room to 3 rooms, and I'm going to tell Zoom to do it automatically. Now, when I click the create breakout rooms, you guys will get an invitation to join a breakout room. All right, so go ahead when you get that invitation and join the rooms.
Were we supposed to not be able to hear anything?
Yeah, what I realized, I kind of threw everybody into the rooms. I should have given more lead up.
Okay.
So I've got a couple people who are still exiting their rooms. So as soon as everybody's back here, I realized, oh yeah, once everybody's in their rooms, I can't talk to everybody anymore. So
Okay. Yeah, I was like, did I do something?
yeah,
Okay.
no, you're all set. You're all good. So all right, so I think everybody made it back. So yeah, what I was just explaining, that, sorry, it was a little bit of bad planning on my part, is that I threw you guys all into those rooms and then realized that, of course, I had no way to talk to everybody once you were there. But basically, so what happened? I from the presenter's end, when that happens, you get an overview screen that actually shows you who's in each of the rooms. It shows you whether they've joined the room or not. It gives you the option of sending a message to everybody in the room, to all of the rooms. So you might have seen a couple messages pop up at the top of the screen. And then it also gives you the ability as the presenter to join any of the rooms. So you can go around the different rooms, see what's going on in them. You can move people from one room to another by clicking on their names. You can swap people out between rooms or just move somebody to a different room. So once the room is up and running, you've basically are in control. You're sort of looking from above at all of the rooms and can go in and out of them as you wish, and can manage them as you wish. So once you're in the rooms, the idea generally behind a breakout room is that and this is what I had neglected to do, is that you've given your participants some task. Once they're in those rooms, they can chat with each other within the room. The participants can share their screens. So if it's a case where you want them to go off and each take a look at something, then one of the participants in the room can share their screen, and then everybody in that room will be looking at that screen. So basically, the people in the room become mini presenters, as it were, and take control over what goes on in the room. And then you can go in and out of the rooms as you wish to see what's going on. When you're ready to bring everybody back, you have the option of shutting all of the rooms down, and that will give everybody a 1-minute warning that the room will close in 1 minute so people can kind of wrap up. And then once they leave the room and come back to the main room, then you can sort of regroup and move on from there. So it is a bit tricky, I'm realizing, because it's hard for me to have you see my end of things and your end of things at the same time. But it's actually the use of it is actually pretty straightforward. That it will divide people up for you, or you can do the assigning. You decide how many rooms you want to use, and then you simply say, open the rooms, and then the rooms are available, people join them, and then you get a chance to keep an eye on things. So particularly in light of the fact that one of the requirements for the presentations is to have some sort of additional interactive moment during your presentation, breakout rooms might be a way to do that. It's kind of how I've used the chat feature in Moodle when I set up the individual chat rooms so that you can chat in small groups during a class. But this way people can actually do it. And people could turn their video on. In a small chat room, if there's just 3 or 4 people, you could have people unmute and undo their videos. If you want to actually have more of a full video conference, you can do so. That generally doesn't work in a large class if you've got a lot of people, but if it's just a small group of people, then that would be an opportunity where people could unmute their microphones and just have a conversation with each other. That is a good question. I actually don't know the answer to that, Brian, whether if you're doing the recording, my guess is that it will record whatever you as the presenter are doing. So if you enter a room, my guess is that it would follow you into that room and record what's in that room. But I should look that up. I don't know the answer to that specifically. Whether it pauses the recording that it's doing for the Zoom, or whether it sort of moves on. Yeah, we'll find out. So, all right. So that's basically Zoom. A lot of it is the same as WebEx. You can do a lot of the same things. Where I think it's a little stronger is it does allow a little bit more interactivity in terms of the little icons you can use. The recording feature is a little bit slicker than it is in WebEx, where it can automatically start recording whenever you open the room. It's got the breakout rooms, which I think can be a really useful thing in terms of that. Beyond that, you're still sharing your screen content. You can use audio to talk back and forth. You can use chat to talk back and forth. And the one big limitation is because we're using Zoom as a free level, is that you're limited to 40 minutes. That at 40 minutes your Zoom session will expire, so you can't really do anything that's long. And that's part of the reason, for instance, I don't use it for these classes, because 2.5 hours would not be supported unless I paid for it myself. But it's, for shorter meetings and things like that, it's certainly something that you can use. All right. So I think also, just to help my own brain stop processing multiple applications at the same time, is that I'd like to have us return back to WebEx, unless anybody has a question they'd like to ask right here while we're looking at something. But I can certainly also answer questions once we get back into WebEx. All right. So what we will do now is I'm going to actually end the meeting from my end. So it's going to actually kick all of you out of the Zoom room. And then if you left the WebEx room, just go back into the WebEx room, and I will see you there in just a couple minutes, and we'll pick up from there. All right, so I'll see you in WebEx.